colleges, thank you for being here. Your presence signals a resounding affirmation in the college process, not for the way it is portrayed in the media as a numbers-driven and impersonal process, but for the powerfully human process and thoughtful process that it is. So today, we mark together the beginning of the college journey for the class of 2015. Yet in truth, each one of you juniors has been well on your way setting your college path since you arrived at St. Andrews. The story of who you are, what you do, and how you enrich our lives on this campus and in your home communities is well underway. I'm one of the lucky ones at St. Andrews because I have the privilege of helping you tell your stories and share yourselves with colleges. But more importantly, I believe, you have the privilege now of pausing, taking stock in who you are, what matters to you, and what you want your next step in life to be. Now, if you listen to the media, the next year of your life should be pretty miserable, strategic, and tense. Here's the really good news. It doesn't have to be that way. Rather, it can be a celebration of all that you have accomplished and a true voyage of self-discovery. An exciting, and I'll say it, a fun year. Juniors, yes, there's a lot of work ahead of you, but you are surrounded by peers, faculty, and your family who will be with you every step of the way. Remember, each one of you has a unique and genuine and powerful story to tell. So I briefly wanted to share two pieces of writing that arrived in my inbox Monday morning. One from a current senior, class of 2014, and one from a St. Andrews alum, class of 2010, who is currently studying abroad in her junior year at college. The senior wrote the following message as she reflected on her college search. Quote, "At St. Andrews, where there are only 78 students in my grade and 300 students total, I have come to cherish and value the power of community. Throughout my 4 years attending St. Andrews, I constantly find myself amazed at the amount of support and guidance I have from all members of this community. More importantly, I've learned that when I have a community constantly supporting me in all aspects of my life, I am more willing to take risks. It is through the risks that I take, joining a club, offering my opinion in class, learning about the diverse backgrounds of my classmates, that I am giving back to the community and supporting others. Ultimately, the lessons and values that I have become passionate about during the past 4 years have become a part of who I am. As I end my journey at this amazing school, I hope to continue this essential growth at a college that continues to provide that sense of community and support and opportunity." And our alum writes, "While reflecting on my semester during my last days in Cape Town, I felt the need to send all of you an email expressing the thanks and immense appreciation I have for all of you. I honestly believe that many of the amazing experiences I have had here in Cape Town could not have been possible without the support that I received from all of you, both in and outside of the classroom. The foundation that I received at St. Andrews changed not only the way I think, write, and engage academically, but also changed the way I engage with others. My time at St. Andrews helped me to become more curious, more passionate about collaborating with others in order to spur change. It helped me to become more invested and interested in connecting with others, not for the superficial gains that I may receive, but for the simple reason of wanting to understand and feel with another person. I know that growth I experienced during my 3 years at St. Andrews was greatly influenced by all of you, and for that I am thankful. I am also grateful for the help you all gave me and for your ability to share your amazing gifts of teaching to me and the rest of the students that pass through the SAS halls. So these reflections state so clearly what we as teachers aspire to achieve, what St. Andrews is and does as a school. These words offer inspiration and affirmation for the lives you juniors are leading at St. Andrews, and the value that your time here has as you begin this next step. Before I turn to Mr. Roach for his remarks, I want to take a moment to offer some thanks. Thank you to the class of 2015 for the strong start to the year you have all had. In the classroom, athletic fields and courts, the running trails, in this building, in the arts, and throughout the dorms and hallways of the school. You are all beautifully poised to take over the mantle of leadership next September. And I also thank you in advance for the great energy and focus and enthusiasm you are going to bring to this morning. I thank parents and guardians for being here, to engage, to learn, to listen to our colleges, to our college guests, to your children, and to each other. I offer a huge thanks to Barbara Sampson, who is the true life force of our college office engine room over in Founders. She works tirelessly for our students, for the college office, and for the school. Thank you to Anna Hastings for your professionalism, warmth, wisdom, patience, and humor. In short, for all you do every day and night, working with students, parents, and me. Thank you, Tad, for embracing and supporting this program and for being such an active, thoughtful, and enthusiastic member of our college team. Somehow, with all you do, you are always available, and you are a vital voice and force in the college process for all of our students. And finally, thank you, colleges, for being here. Yesterday, you lived the life of a St. Andrean. You got to Spanish 1 with Ana Ramirez, AS Physics with Mark Hammond. You observed an English exhibition with Emily Pressman and Elizabeth Roach. You jumped into a IPSCA problem-solving class with Eric Finch, Kelly Lazar, and Dave DeSalvo. That was an experience. You've met with students, attended school meeting, toured the school, enjoyed the incredible Thanksgiving feast prepared by Sage last evening, and attended chapel and listened to Wilson Everhart's beautiful talk. You have indeed experienced St. Andrews. And you are here this morning to offer your insight, wisdom, and experience to our students and families. It is simply remarkable that you have committed these 2 days to St. Andrews in the middle of one of your very busiest times of the year. I know that folder reading and committee awaits all of you back in your campuses, and I cannot thank you enough. On behalf of the entire St. Andrews community, we are honored to have you here, and we thank you. And now I'll turn to Tad.
So I wanted to add my welcome to all of you and thank parents for being here. And I want to thank Cassie for the vision and creativity that she's displayed as this program has evolved over the course of the last decade. It has become such an important part of the way St. Andrews thinks about education and the way we communicate with colleges about really the most important issues that we're all facing as institutions that are trying to prepare students for engaged lives in this democracy and in the world. What's really clear to me at St. Andrews is whether you as parents are able to be here today, or for those fifth form students whose parents could not be here today, the incredible commitment of parents and guardians to this enterprise is so important to us. And at this time of Thanksgiving, I think it's pretty important for you as students who are juniors and for those of us who get to work with you to really thank parents for the enormous sacrifices they are making for you. And these are financial sacrifices, these are emotional sacrifices, these are tremendous leaps of faith that your parents and guardians are making to allow this community to grow and flourish. And I hope during the course of your trip back home today, or for those of you who are going to fly and meet your parents somewhere, I hope you'll have a chance to thank your education and for your life. I too want to thank the distinguished panel to my left and to my right for coming to St. Andrews. I think most of us in the room are aware that this is indeed the busiest time for college admissions counselors and leaders. There's no question that if you talk about Thanksgiving week or Thanksgiving vacation for a college admissions officer, this is crunch time. And the fact that they were able to be here and to participate so powerfully in yesterday's program says a lot about the institutions that they represent and also about the kind of commitment they bring to liberal education and to the education that we're all trying to collaborate on in the coming years. So in my brief remarks today, I just want to talk a little bit about narratives. And Cassie mentioned a couple narratives and how the college admissions process at St. Andrews is actually a concerted attempt to get narratives right. All of you as families have narratives. There are narratives that you've learned from grandparents and parents and mentors, and often those narratives are ones that become part of the very fabric and climate of your families. And schools obviously have very, very important narratives that are tied to the beginning of their existences. And schools have important narratives as well. Over the course of the last month or two, I've been trying to think about a variety of different narratives and why they matter. So most of the juniors in this room have just studied Shakespeare's great play, Hamlet. And they've discovered that one of the things that happens in that play is that Hamlet's narrative changes dramatically from Act 1 to Act 5. In Act 1, his narrative is that he feels incredibly angry, annoyed, and depressed at the chore that he's been given by fate. His line is, "O cursed spite that ever I was born to set it right." Act 1. In Act 5, he utters two remarkable Shakespearean lines. One is, "The readiness is all," and the other is, "Let be." And in that movement from "O cursed spite" to "Let be" and "The readiness is all" is a vast change in a narrative. And it's a narrative that's been caused by experience, and it's also a narrative that's been caused by his belief that how you approach fundamental challenges in our lives can be affected by our attitude, by our perspective, by our persistence, by our dedication, and by our integrity. This past summer, the story I mentioned to the juniors, I guess to the seniors earlier this year, I had a chance to talk to Novak Djokovic's coach. Novak Djokovic, if you're not a tennis fan, is the #1 or the #2 tennis player in the world. I had a chance to hit with Novak Djokovic's hitting partner, which is pretty close to the thought of hitting him. 10 minutes where he sort of moved me around very gently. So at the end of the 10-minute hit, I walked to the net and said, "Can I just ask you a question about Novak?" He said, "Sure." And I said, "So what's happened to Novak? You know, I know his diet's changed, and I know maybe his game's changed, but he doesn't lose anymore. And his stature and his grace and his graciousness has developed tremendously. He used to be quite angry, quite bitter. He would play matches and he would look up at the crowd and express anger and indignation and despair. What happened?" And he said, "Well, we changed the narrative." I said, "What do you mean you changed the narrative?" And well, we said, we got Novak to write down by hand what kind of an athlete and competitor he wanted to be. It wasn't writing down, "I want to win the French Open, I want to win Wimbledon." It was about, "I want to develop greater self-discipline. I want to show in every point the kind of integrity and passion and commitment that I bring to my game. I want to eat and train to honor the best part of myself." So he writes by hand and does this repeatedly and focuses himself. And the results, if you want to look at the match results, they're extraordinary. He loses once in a while, but not very often. And when he loses, he does remarkable things like fighting for point after point after point and giving incredibly gracious speeches as the runner-up at Wimbledon and the US Open. narratives, and we're talking about ways in which people impose narratives on us. Cassie mentioned one of them. The narrative that the media is fixated about, because it sells papers and magazines, is that we could create a narrative that would say that the college admissions process is impossible, or we could create a narrative which means that the college admissions process is unfair, or we could create a narrative which means that the college admissions process is a game, or we could create a narrative which indicates that there's a way to subvert the college admissions process and get in without doing any of the work. Or there's a way to hire outside professionals who spend all their waking hours finding the hidden magic of how to access the most competitive colleges and universities. And if you pay enough per hour, you'll get that hidden knowledge. And the reality of the matter is that all those narratives are destructive. They're destructive to the process that Cassie described. They're destructive to American education. They're destructive to schools like St. Andrews. They're destructive to kids, and they're destructive to parents. Because once the college admissions process becomes a game, once the college admissions process becomes an anxiety-provoking process, once the college admissions process becomes something unfair, then the way we approach the process is remarkably diminished. So the change at St. Andrews came early in the 21st century when we began to talk about college admissions differently, and the narrative was very, very different. So instead of talking about how to get in, we began to talk about what does it mean to be a college student? What does it mean to be ready? What does it mean to participate in a leadership role in the transformation of American or global society? Or to ask it another way, do you want to participate actively in the life of your college or university, the life of St. Andrews, or the life of the democracy of the world, or not? And once that narrative changed, and once the question changed, the students relaxed and they got to work. And they started doing superb work in the classroom, superb work in the extracurricular life of the school. And then we began to receive emails like the one from Honolulu that Cassie read today, which was that the process of education that we participated in has led to an engagement that has moved me from Chapel Hill to South Africa and back. And the doors of opportunities have been opened everywhere. But here's the trick. Despite all the magazines, despite all the private college admissions officers putting up their little signs, and despite the pervasive effect of U.S. News and World Report, there is one fundamental secret about how to get into American colleges. And I know it. I've got it. And it's about a narrative. And here's the narrative. And it's being repeated in study after study at the college, pre-professional, and professional level. And guess what it is? It's that adults, college students, and high school students who embrace hard work, determination, perseverance, and grit will succeed